Everyone, and welcome to Saturday Night Crafting. My name is Sasha Reed, and tonight we've got a really awesome fun project to make tonight where we're going to take dies and we're going to use them as masks. So our main focus tonight is using masking paper and using die cuts. Now I'm going to show you several ways and several types of dies that you could use to achieve the same sort of technique. We're going to use big dies, we're going to use small dies, we're going to use intricate dies, we're going to use basics dies. So if you have not got a die cutting machine, this perhaps is probably not the video for you. And also we're using masking paper, which the Gina K masking paper is my absolute favorite. It doesn't leak, it doesn't bleed, it sticks really well. I absolutely love it, and that's what I'm using tonight. Now if you use masking paper and you have a really good one that's just like Gina K, please tell me down below. I would love to try out some more kinds. I've tried several different brands from different companies and I've really struggled with them. Now, if you liked tonight's video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Drop me a comment down below in the comment section and I'll do my best to reply to you as well. And let's get started. I've got 5 different ways for you tonight. So we're going to start with the basic idea and the basic concept. So I'm going to take this die here. It's a little bit intricate, a little bit basic, it's kind of in between. And tonight, most of my cards are going to be just 2 layers. Now you can make this a 1-layer card. However, I find that the back gets really inky and I'll share that with you in a minute. So I'm always going to use a layer on top of my card base. Now the first step in all of our cards is we're going to die cut out our die using the masking paper. So I'm going to keep the inside and the actual die cut because I wanted to add 2 different colors. Now you can keep this as basic or as complex as you like and it will still look brilliant and beautiful and cool. So here's the die cut, which is made out of the masking paper. The masking paper is super duper thin and a bit delicate, but I haven't found that it actually rips that easily, so it's quite durable. And I'm going to go ahead and place that onto my card front. Now, I started by putting this one down first and then realized that actually it's really difficult to line up the center. So I decided to go ahead and peel that off and put the centerpiece down first and then line up the intricate die around it. I just thought that was much easier than doing it the way I did first. And because it's masking paper, it just peels off really nicely. Now, I always gently press it down as I'm going to stick it down to the cardstock. And then I take a piece of scrap paper and a bone folder and then I give it a really firm rub. Now I apologize, my head's getting involved here because I was trying to make sure that it was lining up nice and beautifully back inside that centerpiece. So I'm going to take my scrap bit of paper and I'm just going to give it a really firm rub and a really firm press with my bone folder. And don't worry, this won't stick to your cardstock and rip it or tear it. It will just make it nice and flat for you. Now in all my cards tonight, I am using pretty much the same colors and I will put them down in the description box below for you if you're curious to know which colors I use tonight. I do kind of start to go quick because I am aware that this is a long video and I don't want to bore you. Now I've got my medium mat down below from scrapbook.com, which wipes clean every time and is really useful at holding my cardstock and holding my ink pads so nothing slippy sliding when I'm adding color to my cardstock. I'm doing very, very, very basic ink blending tonight and I started by using the brushes and found I wasn't getting enough color. I really wanted a massive saturation of color. I wanted it to really pop and be very vibrant so that when I lift that die cut up, it is really white against a really bright background. So that's why I'm going back into using a sponge, which I haven't used in ages. Now I wanted my edges to pop and I love the sort of bright pink and dark purple combo. I think they look stunning together. And all I do to blend them together is just go back over them a few times once I've put the color down. And because I'm using distress inks, you can always add water to get another cool effect. And I'm going to share with you stenciling in a minute and embossing powder. But for now, as a basic kind of starter round, you can just add water and you can get a bit more texture to that background that you've created. Now for my center, I wanted a sort of nice light bluey gray color because I want to stamp on this later. So I want my focal point to be the center of that image. So I'm going to lift up that middle layer and I do get some of those die cuts popping up. So I just go ahead and press them back down nice and firmly with my bone folder. Make sure they're really well stuck down. And then I'm grabbing a finger dauber for this bit because this is nice and small. I don't want to go too crazy with a big brush or a big blending tool and then end up going over my little line where my die cut is laying. So I'm just going ahead and adding some weathered wood down which is like, yeah, like I said, a bluey gray. And it does look really dark, but it does dry a lot lighter than that. As you can see here, I've left it for a few minutes and it's dried a bit lighter. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to do this sort of purple edging like I had around the outside of the card. So I'm adding that with a small blending brush. And then I'm using my finger dauber to kind of blend those colors in between every sort of few centimeters. So I'm going ahead and just kind of merging that back together. Merging, I don't think that's the right word. I'm blending it back together. And once that's done, we can go ahead and lift that last mask off. And it's such a cool effect. So we've used the die cut, and again, like I said before, you could do a 1-layer card, and this is all flat, but it looks dimensional, which is the fun bit of this technique. So you get this gorgeous bright white, what looks like a die cut, but actually there's no die cut there. We just use the mask. Now, if you're very careful with that mask, you can then go ahead and lift it off gently and reuse it and do another card. I wasn't too bothered. I wanted to do a whole bunch of different cards with a whole bunch of different dies. I got a little carried away and went a little overboard again. The second version I'm going to show you tonight is using large intricate dies. So this one is from Pretty Gets Gritty, which is a UK based company. They do ship worldwide and they have a lot of really amazing mixed media products, and they have this huge, I think it's a window. I'm going to use it as a window tonight. But as you can see, my masking paper does not go the whole way down my die. So this is an A5 size die in the UK, and so therefore this paper doesn't quite line up. It's a little bit shorter, so I'm going to show you how you can stretch that and make that work. Now save every bit of your little release sheet paper, your masking paper, put that into a nice little packet and keep it if you're not going to use it on your project. So those little scrap bits that I first put to the left, those are the ones that are too short, and all the ones that are going to the right I'm going to put back inside because I wanted to make this a multicolored window. I wanted it to kind of look like a church window. I had an idea for a Christmas card with it. So I'm going to take another piece of the Gina K masking paper and I'm going to line my die up so that I get the full length of those strips, so I can put those strips back in and I can do different colors in each of those little window strips. So you can see here I've die cut it again a second time, and I'm just going to take that second one and line it up with the first one, and that's how you can kind of stretch your masking paper if you have not got one that's long enough. Now I wanted to check my card front and make sure that my die would fit on there nice and perfectly, and it fits just inside there. So it gives me a rough idea of how I'm going to place that masking paper onto my card. So I'm just kind of lining it up and eyeballing it and then running my fingers down, making it nice and smooth, not pressing too hard just yet. I'll do that in a minute when I'm happy with how it all looks. Now I can take that bottom die cut and line it up and stick it back over top of that, and then I've got this perfect die cut that you can't really tell wasn't actually one die cut. So if you've got a nice big intricate die and you want to use it, you can use it. Now I've kept all those popped out pieces, as I said, minus the tiny ones in the middle. I didn't bother with those. I start with that in my inking process, but I'm going to go ahead and put all those die cut inlays back inside, or I'm going to die cut inlay the die cuts that had popped out. I'm going to use a dark blue and a black to do my background, and then I'm going to do the same thing again where I added water on the top because I wanted it to kind of look like a night sky, maybe a bit like snowy looking. Not that you would have a window in the middle of the sky, I realize that sounds a bit silly, but I really wanted like a Christmassy feeling card, and I love this giant window. I think it's a window, and that's what I wanted to do. So I accidentally got a couple big blobs, but never mind. And here's what I'm talking about with the messy background. So you could do it as a 1-layer card, but be aware you may get a whole bunch of ink on the back of your card. Now instead of using the purple, I'm going to go ahead and use black and make that really dark along the outside. And then I'm simply just going to go ahead and fill in all my colors. I'm using a whole bunch of different tealy kind of blues along the top. I'm using a bunch of different blending brushes. The little skinny black ones are just from AliExpress. They're makeup brushes. I think I got a set of 10 or 15 of them for about £5-6. Not overly expensive, and you can wash them and reuse them, which is quite good. And then I'm using my finger daubers to do the colors in between the windows, and when I'm all finished I can peel off that release sheet and I've got this really cool look again. Now I felt like because I had the black on the outside of this card, I wanted some black on the inside between all those colors. So I'm just going to die cut 3 layers of cardstock out of my die, and then that way I'm making again another mask. And this way I can line it up on the front of my card, take a black pen and trace all of those little windows out, to trace all the little holes, and it gives me a bit of a black outline. Now when I finished doing this, I got the satisfaction of having that black there, but I just felt like it was kind of missing that wow oomph factor. So I decided, actually, I'm just going to die cut another white one, and I will pop this on the front, and it just made it a bit more crisp and clear. So this is one layer of white cardstock, and I just popped that right on the front. And then I've got this gorgeous set of different colors showing through. And now I can go ahead and turn it into a beautiful Christmas card. So I'll come back to that at the end of the video. The third one is if you've got small intricate dies. So you don't have a big one, you don't have a background die, you don't have a die with a central point. You can take your small intricate dies and you can use these as well. So I'm going to use this flower here and some of the leaves. I'm just sharing with you a whole bunch of them because I wasn't sure what I was doing at this point, and I pulled out all these paper rose dies. I absolutely love them all, and I decided to settle on this beautiful flower and these two leaves. So I die cut them all out twice each, and I decided to work on craft cardstock with a cream colored base for this card. I love how craft cardstock looks. You can get a nice subtle kind of background. You can still use bright colors, but it's not as in your face. Now, if you've got a set of dies like these ones here from scrapbook.com, they are so much fun because they are just the outline of the die. So it looks like you're cutting a circle, but actually you're just cutting the frame. So if you've got actual frame dies, this technique is brilliant for a frame die as well, to give you that kind of pop of focal point. That doesn't really make sense. We're going to have a focal point on our card, and I'm using that die so that our eye is kind of drawn into that central point. It's slightly to the bottom right, but because it's got that nice circle around it, it'll make us look towards that direction, and that's where I'm going to put my sentiment as well. So I had a little play before I took my release paper off the back of my masking paper, and then that way I know exactly where I want to stick it down once I pull that release sheet off. So again, I'm going to take a piece of scrap cardstock and I'm going to give it a really firm press with my bone folder over it. If you do this without a piece of paper in the way, you will start to rip and lift up some of those intricate die placements. So again, I'm going to use this weathered wood for the center of my sentiment because it's a nice light color once it dries. And then I thought I'd go with sort of the theme of colors of what you would typically have on a flower. And then I'm using that dark purple for the whole entire edge and all the empty space around between the die cuts. And again, I'm going back and forth with my colors and kind of smoothing and blending those colors together. So it looks like a kind of ugly hot mess, but once it dries and once we pull off all of these masks, it looks stunning and incredible. And all we had to use were a whole bunch of little random dies that I had in my collection, and you can make this beautiful sort of card front. So here's the finished result. It'll dry slightly lighter than that, and then we can add our sentiment in the middle. Our fourth method is going to be if you don't have any intricate dies at all. All you've got is basic shapes. Maybe you only have circles. Maybe you only have hearts. Whatever the case may be, you can still do this and create a beautiful project. Now, I'm using two circles together, but if you've got hearts and circles, or circles and stars, or squares and stars, you can always layer those together as well and create yourself a really fun frame. So you could have a circular outside with a star shape on the middle. So you can go to town with whatever you've got in your stash and you can do this fun technique. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my circle towards the bottom right, and I'm filling in my circle first and making it the same as before. I've got the weathered wood and I'm going ahead and coloring that in with that. Then I'm taking my masking paper and I'm going to place that right in the middle of the circle frame that I've just done. That way I'm keeping that gray nice and covered, because we are going to use some heat embossing as well and some stenciling, and we're going to make this card extra pop. So if you've got more time on your hands and you've got some extra supplies, this is another way that you can kind of step up the card. I've got this floral stencil from Dolly Dimples. The information is here and I'll link it down below for you as well. She's got a whole bunch of really cool stencils in her shop. I think she's got probably like 40 or 50 different ones. But this gorgeous flower one I thought went really well with the colors I chose. So I'm going to line that up exactly where I want it, flip it over, and I will grab my low tack tape. This green teal tape that I'm using is mint tape from scrapbook.com. It is basically like post-it note tape on a roll, and it's really handy for things like this and also for masking off projects as well. And I'm again using that dark purple, and I'm going over my stencil in the dark purple, and you see you get this beautiful kind of striking combination, color combination again. Now I'm going to heat set my ink because I'm going to take my VersaFine ink and go over the top in order to heat emboss. Now I want to make sure it is not damp at all, so I wanted to make sure that pink and the purple were dry. The purple that we just applied through the stencil isn't going to really matter because I'm going to pop that stencil right back on top, but I needed that pink to be dry, otherwise I'm going to end up with my embossing powder sticking to that damp ink. Now, WOW have this really cool tool. This is what you use to re-ink their ink pads. I'm waiting for mine to come in the post. They were out of stock, so I'm waiting for one to come. But I got this re-inker anyways. It's got a rolly ball on it. So instead of ending up with having a blending tool that you're going to dab back into your ink pad and then end up with color on, you can just take this rolly tool and roll it over top of your ink dauber or your sponge, and that way you're applying the VersaFine ink or the WOW ink and you're not getting any transfer onto your ink pad. It's such a clever thing and it's such a fun thing to use in your card making. Now I'm going to go ahead and use this sparkle embossing powder, and this is new to me. It came in the starter kit that WOW sent me because I've joined their design team, and I'm really excited about it. It is so sparkly and so fun. So it's completely clear but really, really glittery, and it's lovely, lovely embossing ink. Here you can see it. This is the first time I used it, so I was like, wow, this is amazing. I guess that's why they call it WOW. But I was really excited by this embossing powder. And you get this really amazing, striking kind of look to it. So now I'm going to remove the masks, and I've got that beautiful bright white edge. And then I've got that pop of color for my central focal point where I'm going to put my sentiment. So I'm going to use this Trinity Stamps, which is the You set. And I'm going to stick on You Are Amazing. And I'm going to heat emboss that with white embossing powder, so it kind of goes along with my sort of white outline. And here's my finished cards. I've added some gems from Lena Crafts to finish off the front of it and add a little bit more sparkle. I use those on most of the rest of my cards as well. And through the magic of videos, I'm going to share with you the rest of the cards that I finished off screen for you. Here's that Christmassy themed card that I wanted to make. I used Lisa Horton dies for the sentiment, and I used this brand new holographic cardstock from one of my favorite cardstock shops in the UK, which is Rainbow Card. They do ship internationally as well. So I popped some of that holographic card behind the Merry Christmas, which cuts straight through the middle of cardstock, so you can have the sentiment be whatever size strip you want, which is quite fun. And once I find the rest of my Christmas stamps, I will add on underneath that From Our Home to Yours. I know I've got that stamp set somewhere. For my next card, I am using this Thank You stamp set from Catherine Pooler. I just chopped it in half and put the thank above you. And I'm using again those gems from Lena Crafts. And this is how I finished off that first card we made. So I went ahead and white heat embossed the thank you in the middle and added the gems onto the pretend die cut. For the next card, I used a cream vanilla colored embossing powder and the sentiment You're the Best, and as well as a few gems, and finished off this fun craft cardstock card. This is probably one of my absolute favorites. Let me know in the comment section down below which one was your favorite. I'd love to know. Now this is one I did off screen because I got a little carried away and just kept playing, and then I thought I need to stop. It's gone 5 o'clock and I've got to edit this video and get it on for 7. So here's my extra card that I did, following the exact same technique using this Catherine Pooler die, and then I went for the happy birthday, which is the top to bottom kind of stamp, and stuck that along the side and did the craft cardstock again. So my absolute favorite is that top left one. I love it. I love how it turned out. I love the glitter, the sparkle. I love the pink, the purple. Let me know which one you love the most. And let me know if you have a go as well. I've got a Facebook group down in the description box if you'd like to join us over there and share any of your creations and makes with a whole bunch of fabulous, amazing people. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, sticking around if you did for this long video, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Bye.